Good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's complimentary online support training. So my name is Sheila Granger, and we are anticipating around about 500 people on tonight's call who are registered for the webinar, which is very exciting. So if you can, just to start with, before we make a start properly, if you just like to say hello in the chat box. If you have not been on a webinar before, on the right hand side of your screen, bottom right, there is a chat box where you can type in a message, say hello, and just let us know that you can hear us okay. I can see there's quite a few people dropping into the room now, so I know that you are there. So if you can just let me know that you can hear me okay. Oh, hello, Caroline. Nice to see you online. Kenda, hi, Kenda. So we've got people from all over the world who are registered for tonight's, and there's another webinar tomorrow morning. So hi, Clarissa, Paula, loud and clear. Somebody said Paula, excellent. So the best thing with webinars is to turn off anything that you've got running in the background on your computer. Certainly don't stream anything else at the same time. We appear to have a perfect connection right now, which is sometimes unheard of, but we appear to have a perfect connection. So it's recording absolutely perfectly at our end. If you find that your screen goes a little bit blurred, or your sound goes down, or you don't seem to be able to hear very well, all you need to do is refresh your screen, and hopefully that should come back better for you. But if your connection is a bit hit and miss, you know, there is a recording of this webinar, so you will be able to listen to the replay, look at the slides again, take the tools and techniques. Carolyn, thank you very much. Great to hear your voice. So yes, I met Carolyn in Daytona Beach back in May, which seemed like a lifetime ago now. So great to see you all on the call this evening, and hopefully you're all going to get a lot of benefit out of tonight's webinar. We're going to share some new tools and techniques with you that you will be able to go away and immediately implement in your practice. Roy, nice to see you online. Shamsi, hello. So, and if you want to type in the chat box, it's always nice for everybody else to see sort of where you're from. So hello, Diane from Seattle. Nice place to be. So before we start, while we're waiting for everybody else to drop in on the webinar, you know, make sure you're comfortable. Say, turn off any other devices so it doesn't slow your internet down. And it would be well worth your while for this evening's webinar, because we are going to be going through specific techniques with you. It would be well worth you getting a piece of paper and a pen to write anything down that you're going to be able to go and use in your practice. You know, so take off your other distractions, you know, put your phone on silent. And there's a few techniques that we're going to be going through. At the end of each technique, I will open it up for questions. And right at the end, we'll open up for any questions that you have at all. And there's going to be a complimentary copy of something called a Script for Change tool, which will go into a little bit more detail. Which, you know, again, I'll tell you how you can get your hands on that. And it's a full session program that you could run with somebody. It's got 11 pages to it, a great tool for your toolbox. And as we go through the other tools, I will tell you how you can get your hands on that. So probably most of you know me, because probably it was me that you got the invitation for this evening's webinar. So those of you who don't know me, my name's Sheila Granger. I'm based in the UK. most known for the virtual gastric band therapy. Now I have around 2,000 practitioners in 9 countries. I deliver training all over the world. Also became known for building a private practice in just under 3 years of 35 clients a week, which I wouldn't recommend as necessarily as a good business model. But what it did give me was a huge amount of client experience. And now I think I endeavour to help other therapists build their practice and get similar results. I also delivered a school program in schools with children around exam stress. I got nominated for a Community Pride in the Community Award, which was lovely. I also deliver a lot of training now into businesses, in particular with salespeople, helping them sell more with hypnosis. So that's a little bit about me. I've recently returned from doing some work in Australia with a wonderful lady called Sass Willow, who I'm going to introduce you to shortly. And Sass and I have recently been delivering some training in Melbourne, helping therapists there achieve the best results that they can with their clients. And I'll tell you a little bit about that later on. But without further ado, I'll introduce you to Sass in a moment. Now, Sass is, if you like, somebody that I aspire to be like. She is a teacher herself. She created her own weight loss program called Hey Hey It's Me. And she knows her techniques work, the techniques that she's used herself personally and professionally. And I have seen the before and after photographs. Very, very impressive. She's built a practice in Melbourne and has been in the mental health field now for around about 25 years. She's a trainer and supervisor of supervisors for therapists. And she has won a huge amount of awards for academic excellence and achievements, something that I am extremely envious about. So she also likes to help other therapists develop programs. Sass, good evening, Sass.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Sheila. It's great to be here today and for everyone to join us. It's just so wonderful when you can be, so much part of that sharing and learning in our industry. I just feel so privileged to be able to be connected with you, Sheila, and share such quality knowledge and be able to help everyone out there and the therapists, and so therapists can then help their clients. So it feels really good to be here today, and wonderful to be able to be part of all this. Thank you.
Good to have you with us, Sass. So the things that we're going to be covering today, and very shortly, I'm going to turn the chat box off. And the reason being is so that, you can all sort of get the maximum out of this learning. Because one of the things that I find is if we leave the chat box on, naturally people know each other, they start conversations amongst themselves, which is lovely. But it can be really distracting in the chat box, not just for other people who are looking to learn new skills, but also for myself, Sass, as presenters, because you notice those messages drop in and it can throw you off what you were intending to talk about. So people can miss out on stuff when it's in there. So very shortly, I'll be turning the chat box off. But the things that we're going to be covering today is, what do you do when you have a client who goes off track? Now, most of you who are on the call have done the virtual gastric band training, and which is a program that works superbly with your clients. But every now and again, you do get somebody who starts off well and then they seem to reach stalemates, or they just seem to drop off the bandwagon, just seem to lose that motivation, really. So what we're looking at today is how to help those unmotivated and stuck clients, or the clients who just appear uncommitted to the choices. We're going to teach you how to help clients tap into their own inner strengths, because we've all got those inner strengths, but sometimes we just can't see it ourselves. And also, this is for helping clients who they've perhaps reached their goal weight, they've got to where they want to be, and it's how they maintain that lifestyle. Because, you know, it has been shown that, you know, clinically, that people to maintain something is completely different to somebody who wants to lose the weight to begin with. So we're going to be covering some tools and techniques that help you with all of those things for your clients. So it's a bit of further education, and obviously we will open up for question and answers as well. So just so you know, time-wise, we are probably going to be up to about an hour going through some of these techniques with you. And I say after each one, we will open up for question answers after each technique, so that you can be sure that, and we know that you understand it before we move on to the next one. But the call itself may go on for about 90 minutes, depending on how many questions that we get. So we're going to make a start then at looking at motivation and commitments. So when you have a client whose motivation goes, and I'm sure we can all probably relate to this in aspects of our life, your ability to keep on going drops out because everything becomes too hard. And you know, you sort of lose the enthusiasm, and you know, it all just becomes a little bit like effort. And most of this is to do with a neurotransmitter. A neurotransmitter called dopamine. And this dopamine, it plays a crucial role in the motivation of a person. You know, we've all heard, you know, that when you've got that dopamine, you feel this great joy and you feel great and everything's wonderful in the world and it's easy to do stuff because you feel fantastic. And, you know, somebody going to the gym, for example, they get hooked on the dopamine, how it makes them feel after they've done it. So they keep going back to more for more. They almost get more of that drug. And it works on our brains, making those neurons fuse. But dopamine also causes our expectations to be set. So if those expectations aren't met, you know, we can fall down quite heavily. And it's, you know, when we fall off the bandwagon, for want of a better expression, it's because that neurotransmitter isn't really talking anymore. So the way that dopamine works, it's that it begins to flow very freely when somebody feels like they've achieved something. So it could be, you know, if you could relate it to something in your business. You know, if you feel like you've achieved something, you go on to do more, you feel good about doing more. But when something perhaps doesn't work out as we want it to work out, and it, you know, continues not working out, then sooner or later you think, what the heck, what is the point? Because, you know, that neurotransmitter has stopped talking. So one of the ways then that we can help our client get that motivation back, and this is what we're really going to be looking at now, is a motivational tool that focuses on the drivers. What are the client's drivers? So that we can hook into that and, you know, help them get that motivation back. We're going to tap in to change so that we can get that neurotransmitter talking again. And the way this particular tool works is it really tunnels down on questioning. So almost we can put the client's light bulbs back on again so that we can get that dopamine going again. So I'm going to pass you over to Sass, who is going to talk you through some of these questioning how we, why we capture these particular questions from a client, and where we would then take it from there.
Thanks, Sheila. Yes, this is a wonderful set of questions, really tailored to tap into that area of the neurotransmitter that communicates to the other transmitter of talking about change. So it's sort of reconnecting and firing up again, like lighting the fire. And part of that is about understanding commitment and change, as they are two very separate areas that are combined together, working together. Once they're united, brings about that thread to move forward in a person's life. So what I mean by that is, like, commitment means, you know, having some sort of responsibility, promising, you know, those sorts of things, like transformation, all that sort of thing moves into then the change areas, which is we're adapting, we're modifying, so we're reorganizing, we're remodeling. So these particular questions tap into all those areas, one after the other, which really then compounds the answering, as you're going to see when we actually do the tool itself. So when we talk about change, we need to identify one particular thing that the client wants to change. What is it you want to change? And a lot of clients often say, oh, I just want to eat healthier, or I just want to do, get up and exercise more, or something like that. But we really want to see, what is it they want to change? We want more than just, I want to exercise more. What is it, when you exercise more, do you get out of that? So they want to really change the feeling. So we want to gather that as well. So that's why these questions are just, there's something that really just brings about that change without pushing, without judgment, without basically getting them to feel that they can't change. These questions don't focus like that. They focus on the empowerment thread, which is what we want. So we want the client to end up thinking by the end of it, and feeling by the end of it, yeah, I can change, I can give it a go. And that's what we're tapping into here. So as we move through that tool, we're going to ask these questions, and in a moment, when we go to the next bit, you're going to see the answers and how we draw all those answers into that circle and what we do with that. So when we talk about change, what worries you about, not being healthy or whatever that is, we'll have a look at that in a moment. And then we look at, so what is it when you do change? What if you don't? And to really, really write down the areas of how do you do change. So we're going to work through that now. So let's just take your pen to paper, and maybe even do it yourself, like grab something that you might want to change. So you might want to sort of pick something now and work it through. So ask yourself these questions as we do that. So the first thing is what is it you want to change? So obviously the answer in this one is eating bad foods. That's what. Sorry, just had a bit of a disconnection there for a minute. So obviously what we're working with there is they want to change eating those bad foods. And the feeling to that we want to grab and just highlight that somewhere so you can utilize that later, because obviously they want to feel better or healthier or good or whatever it is. And then we go, okay, so ask yourself it now as you go through, what worries you about, eating bad foods? So the answer here is getting fat. That seems to be one of the biggest things. And sometimes they say, maybe becoming unhealthy or maybe becoming sick. So whatever the client's language is, just write exactly that language in the circle. And then we say, what would life look like if you did change? And so it would look healthier. And you might explore that a little bit more and put more into that. So what does healthier look like? And so add that in as well. Who would it impact on you if you did change? And of course, some people might say family and whatever, but then they come up to, well, me mostly, because they know that the benefits are going to be something for them, not just for other people. So even drill that down till you get that sort of looking at themselves and see how you feel when you ask yourself that, who would it impact if you did change? And have a look at that ripple effect as you drill down on doing this yourself right now, if you're doing that. And then we go into, what do you think will happen if you don't change? And this is a big one to really sort of harp on a little bit. So, it's sort of saying, when we use this motivational tool, it's sort of saying, well, you don't have to change. It's your choice. See, this is all bringing around choice factors here. So what do you think would happen if you don't change? So in this instance, the answer is ill, I'll get fat, and I may have some, health problems. So there's your focus point already. The person again has said fat again, so that seems to be a real issue. Something about being fat is something that they don't cope with really well. So they've already identified that. So you're going to tap into that as a motivator as we go through. And the health problems, of course, what is it you're concerned about? You can even drill more around the health problems. And then the next question, which is really interesting, is how do you do change? This is interesting. Grasp and really write down and brainstorm. How do you actually do change? Because we all do it really differently. I would do it very differently to you. And so the answer was here, it was interesting. You see, not sure. A lot of people actually aren't sure how they do change. I guess I just don't know, which is interesting. And then they might come up with, they start thinking about, I don't really know how I could do it, but I could prepare, I could plan, I could do those things. So the could stuff, and it's okay at the moment because we're working with motivational tools, which means it's okay to use language of could, because we want them to start thinking about moving out of that stuck stage into, yes, I actually have the possibility and the capability of doing this. So that's what we want them to start thinking as you're drilling through this. So it's a wonderful sort of session in itself just to work with this part. And then we go, what would you be willing to attempt? So here we're actually really tapping in to that sort of commitment. We want some permission. We want sort of that commitment promise to themselves in a subconscious way. So that question drills down as to, okay, what are they willing to actually commit to? Attempt is the keyword here because we want them to see, hey, let's just have a look at it. Let's just have a go. So they might plan it. They might, to make some healthy choices, whatever that might look like. So we're going to put that in and capture that and explore that. So already tune into how you're feeling about if you're answering this through, what would you be willing to attempt? See how you're feeling in yourself now. See what thoughts are coming through your mind and just, check it out for yourself right now. And then we go into what would you like to see different about your current situation. So this is coming to the stage, reminding them this question, but this is reminding them of where they're at right now without even going into it further. The subconscious then starts to go, okay, this is my current situation. So that question just really ignites then, how could I move away from this situation that isn't working for me? And so subconsciously, just that one question starts that thread. All these questions lead into the threads which tie into this circle. So it's a nice one to work with. So then we move into, making healthy choices. And then, of course, if you don't change, then I'm going to get fat again. So that's sort of something, again, they've got, in this instance with this example, their focus is the real concern about becoming fat again. So once they get rid of the weight, which is often the case, people get rid of a lot of weight and then they start putting it back on. So there you go. There's already a motivating tool of working with them to learn about the maintenance stage, because then they can actually keep going with maintaining their weight and not worrying about the fat again. So that seems to be a big one in this example to really look at. And then, of course, we always need that future stuff. So, you know, where do you want to be in 3 months from now? Is healthier and thinner in this instance. And, of course, we need to put in there, what do you need to help the change? So we need something in there for them to go, well, they're not on their own. They don't have to do it on their own. And once they know that they've got those supports in place, and they've got to identify them. So we need a commitment, of course, and in this case, supports, you know. So we want to provide some solutions here for the client to be able to go, right, okay, so I've got this in place now. I'm moving into what we call the preparation stage of change, to move into action, to do something different. So I think by sort of working through that, gathering everything into the circle, and you're doing that with the client. So you actually got the big circle in front of you, you're putting it all in, you're capturing it, right, which means we're compartmentalizing it, we're organizing it, we're structuring it, we're containing it, which gives the client the subconscious then thread of belief that they are in control of their choices, and they then feel empowered, able to actually move through and make those changes. So upon all that, we build that anticipation, that desire to go, this is the life that I want, this is how I want to feel, this is how I want to think, this is how I want to do things differently. So it's a wonderful commitment to build on that anticipation right throughout. So I'm going to give this back to you, Sheila, and see if you've got anything to add to that.
Yeah, thank you, Sass. Now, I don't know if anybody else, hopefully you were working through some of those, perhaps on your own things. And funnily enough, I thought I'll do this exercise myself, because my thing is Haribo sweets. And so I worked it out on eating Haribos. What was I going to change? Or what did I not want anymore? And it was to eat Haribos on an evening. And so I worked all the way down that to, I mustn't eat and get fat. Nobody will listen to me anymore as an expert if I carry on eating these Haribos. And so I drilled right down to that. I wasn't going to do it during the week anymore, that I'd feel more in control, a different way to manage stress. I wasn't going to have any Haribos in the house anymore. So, you can really see how it can, help a client with that type of structure. And like I said, as Sass said, it's really building on the anticipation. Because the anticipation builds the desire, gets that neurotransmitter going again. And once you've done this with a client, you could just anchor everything that you've come up with there with your questioning, but also with the script for change that we've got for all of you as well, which is a full session, if you like, script. You could build it all into there as well. So, but what I'm going to do before we move on to, looking at a client's strengths and how we can grab hold of the strengths that the client has, I'm just going to open the chat box back up again. And if you can just let me know, how you got on with that, whether you have any questions about any of it. I don't know if a lady called Debbie is on the from Florida is on the call tonight, but she really didn't help me once at a seminar in Florida. Just going back a number of years, she heard I liked Haribo's, and she went to the store and she got this biggest bag of jelly teddies that you've ever seen in your life and gave them to me. It still didn't take me that long to work my way through them. It sometimes takes a little while for me to be able to see the chat. Okay, so Lisa's asked, excellent, got some questions. Would we get the client to write in the circle? Yeah, you can do, Lisa, or you could just be putting it in that there yourself. You know, that could be for your own purpose, because you're drilling down and getting those answers in there on which to work with. I'm sure what we can do as well is, if it would help, I'm sure I could, make these slides available to you afterwards, so that, because I know, it's obviously sometimes it's just on a small screen of the questions. Diane's asked about reviewing it on each session. I think, Diane, it really depends on where your client is, to whether you would need to do that. It's more when the motivation seems to have dropped out, where are they? Jane has asked, hello Jane, do you make a copy for them and keep a copy in file? I would keep a copy in file. And yeah, I mean, if you were looking at reminders for clients, affirmations, you could use it for things like that. But yeah, it's made them a lot more consciously aware themselves as well. Hello, Eugenia. Nice to see you. No worries that you're late. So Eugenia's asked, hi Sheila, sorry I'm late. This looks like a great tool. Are you going to send it to us? I will make the slides available. In fact, yeah, I'll make the slides available because I'm like that. So Carol's asked, how do we build these motivations into our suggestions with hypnosis? So we've got the questions now, and we're shortly going to move on to, okay, so what do we do with that? But as I mentioned earlier, the script for change that we've got that will be coming out to you on, I'll tell you at the end how it's going to come out to you, but you will be able to use these questions with that as well and build it into your suggestions with hypnosis. But I think it's far easier to, once you know this, how to frame your suggestions. A lot of the time, we're making suggestions and we're hoping that they pick up on them, but this really drills down into things. I think there's somebody as well having a bit of problem with connection. So Sass, anything else you would like to add to any of those questions that have been asked?
So the biggest thing to identify when we're working, and you'll see the theme within that circle in this example, was the fear of them becoming fat and staying fat. So that means their anticipation thread's going to be healthier and thinner. And that's the anticipation that you're going to build and anchor then when we do the next tool, and of course that wonderful beautiful change script that's going to just piece it all together. That's the bit that you're going to then anchor for the client, because already through that you can see that their desire, and that's what we want the desire is the motivator, and then it pushes through the drivers which really push through those threads that keep the person going. That's what we want. It is that simple. Once we have it, then you can push through it and you tap into that desire each and every time, no matter what. You just keep feeding that desire. There was something also, just sort of as I went through that, might be something someone's asking in order around the compounding. How does it help with these questions in this sequence simply means by doing this sequence, we're tapping into the actual part of the client, that part of the brain, those parts of them that tap into the change and commitment that again leads to that desired part. That desired part, remember, because we work with the parts of that brain and the subconscious, those parts then send out messages to all the goodies. It's like the desire that Sheila had with, having the sweets. It's like we want the same sort of feeling in something else that's going to be workable and useful for them. Back to you, Sheila.
Yeah, apologies. It might help if I turn the microphone on before I start talking. So we're now going to move on for another tool in your toolbox. So Lisa's actually just added as well. Yeah, great, thank you. Would be a good reminder to use during sessions, which, yeah, exactly, it would, Lisa. And also potentially good for initial consultation questions too. So we're going to move on now, looking at a client's strengths and how we, can grab the strength that they've got, and sort of really get that neurotransmitter to start working again. And working with a client around their strengths can really bring out the most dominant strengths that they have. And the rule of thumb with anything when we're working on strengths is to really focus on the workable strengths that they've got, not the unworkable ones. So to create that motivation. So the slide that should be on your screen now is looking at choosing a strength that the client wants to make stronger. So if perhaps you want to work your way through this as well, if there's a strength that you have that really you'd like to make a little bit stronger. And then there's the questions, what strengths do you think you have? And in the box on the right, when did you use that strength? Are there any other times you use it? Does that strength remind you of anybody? Can you apply that strength to anywhere else in your life? The other question is, what strengths do you think you don't have? What strengths do you think you need, and what strengths do you have but are not strong enough yet? So it's looking at the area where that client, wants to improve the strength that they have, and then finding out really, when are the other times that they've used that similar strength? Because, a lot of the time with anything with hypnosis, we all have the ability to fix ourselves. We just cannot access the resource to be able to do that, or we can't see that we have actually used that resource in another area of our life, because at the time we can't think to access that. So by going through these questions, you start to pull out, well, okay, when have they used this before in a similar way? And can they apply that to other areas of life? And then thinking about, okay, if that strength was a colour, what colour could you give it? And where in the body would you like to store that strength? So it could be that the client says, okay, so the strength for choosing the right foods, I want that to live in my hand. So when I go to pick food up, I'm only picking up the healthier foods. Then during your hypnosis session, you can anchor the strengths that that client has to that body part of their choice and using the colour to do that. So ask the client to touch the area that they've stored that strength, be that the hand, and practice with your client during your session how to access that strength by touching it, imagining the colour, and asking that strength to surface. Sass, I'm just going to pass it back over to you while I just sort of have a little webinar issue here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so as we work through this tool, because, most of us, if you even think of yourselves, we have our individual strengths that we can call upon. This tool actually calls out that strength, the best, and really looks at the best way it can be utilized and has been utilized in the past. So it's almost like once the strength is identified, it's like, look at me, I'm here now. So the strength starts to really, grow like a little seed. It starts to really sprout once it goes, oh, yes, I'm here. And, oh, did you just say something to me? And it starts to really sort of get bigger and bigger and start to take hold and know that it's going to be utilized for something. So this tool actually taps into a lot of other ripple effects that we're going to be working with. Again, we're going to utilize the strengths here of tapping into that wonderful script change tool that you're going to get. So all this can be compounded together. So if we can slip to the next slide, we can have a look and work through those questions and see how it's actually working. But as we do that, why don't you take yourself through something? Grab a strength, and Sheila, if you can flick to the next slide in a moment, that would be great. Because our job as therapists is to really tap in to help the client, once they've identified it, their strength, is how they're going to use it, because that's where the client gets a little bit stuck. Yeah, I've got it, and hey, I'm here now. How am I going to use it? So in this instance, we've got this wonderful strength called committed. So this example is something sort of that people often say they're going to do it, but they don't commit to do it. So that's what we talked about before. So when did you use that strength? We actually tapped into that. So the answer is, it's, when I made that decision, when I had a new job, or it might be even when they moved home, or might be when they decided to change their wardrobe style, or even to say, I'm not having any coffee anymore, or I'm giving up something. Whatever that is, tap into that, write the information down. So you're working with the client as you go, writing everything down. And then, of course, because you identified and you keep mentioning it, so you'll go, okay, so you're not just going to say, are there any times you use that strength? You're going to say, are there any times you use that strength, that committed part, that strength that's committed? You're going to really start then reiterating. Remember, we're working with compounding all the time, so we're going to keep direct suggestible comments going all the way through that theme. So you're grabbing into the other times. And in this case, this example, we've got at the university and when they gave up smoking. So you're going to drill into that to go, wow, because that's a very powerful strength that came through for them when they needed to. And in this instance, when I dumped my girlfriend. So that was really big, because that then means they've taken control, they've made a decision. See, just in those little areas, when that person has actually used that strength, it actually taps into the other parts that are going, wow, I work with committed strength. I work with them. So here I am too, that strong, that powerful. So that's what you're tapping into too, not just that one strength. It starts talking to all the others. So you're again drilling down into getting those other parts, feeling the excitement, getting that anticipation going, because that's again connected to the motivation and the desired points. So Then we ask the next question, does that strength remind you of anyone? So this is really important, because what we want is we want that strength to be tapped into something to give us our extra power within moving forward. So when a person stops and starts to think about it, they might then say, yes, my mother, or, or in this case, my dog, or it could be something else. It could be, oh, yes, it reminds me of that wonderful person, my mentor of years ago, or whatever it is. Just grab that information and write that down. And then we want to know, how do they actually apply the strengths? How can we do it anywhere else? So get them start thinking about, well, I used it then, because that's what you're tapping into. These particular questions are tapping into the subconscious part and the conscious as we're working through those threads all the time. So in this case, we're looking, well, this is about choices here. So they've used the strength before. They know how it works. They feel very powerful around it. So how can I use it now? And this is what they start thinking about. So write that down. So I guess, I already know that I've got it. Again, remember what you're doing is you've just named the strength. It's almost like you've put the spotlight on that strength, and it's all lit up and it's getting bigger and it's brighter, and we're going to support that strength as the strength starts to grow all the way through this thread. And then we have to, it's really important that we actually anchor it to a colour, because colours are so powerful. If a person, of course, can't relate to a colour, then you can anchor it to something else, like, audio, if they're more audio than a colour. So you can work with your client and adjust that, of course, to make sure that suits the client. But most times, a good percentage of clients work with colours. In this case, the person picked yellow, which is bright and shiny and strong like the sun, because it's not just yellow as in yellow. We want the yellow connecting. So what does yellow? Oh, the yellow is like the sun, and we all know how powerful the sun can be when it's out and it shines. It's really powerful and hot and warm, and it dries clothes, and it does that. So that's what we're building on again. We're building on anchoring into the colour, which is then connected to something else that gives power. So we're tapping in to that power, building that strength again, giving it all that it needs to sort of move forward. And then, of course, we anchor that somewhere in the body. And look, in this case, the person picked hands because the hands are the choice of deciding what to eat. But it might be somewhere else where they might feel it in their feet if they're exercising or something like that. But it's up to them to choose in the body. How does that feel? And you could even test it before you're anchoring it. Well, let's just check that out. How would that work? Let's just see how it feels in your hands right now before we anchor it. So you can work with that as you go, and the best way that you like to anchor. So when we're dealing with strengths, we're dealing with the commitment, we're dealing with the compounding, we're dealing with, working with the inner strengths within each and every compound that you're working with, as far as what the strength's doing, to talk about all the other areas that it's going to go. So it's going to tap into desires, it's going to tap into motivation, but the actual strength committed starts to then feel powerful because it's got the supports around them. So I wonder how others have gone just by working with that yourself. So I'll hand you back to Sheila now.
So it'd be really interesting again to see how many of you perhaps worked through that yourself and came up with what you've come up with for yourself. It's always very interesting when we do these exercises ourselves. So I've enabled the chat box again. So if you have any questions about that area, then do type them in the chat box. Because it will be, I think, much easier to do this section by section rather than trying to remember everything right back to the beginning of the webinar. So it sometimes takes a moment for it to appear on my screen. So just going back on some of the things that people have said before, Eileen, these coaching questions could be used for any area of our lives where we feel stuck. Absolutely, they could. And Roy, this is going back to the first motivational tool. If and when you use this well-working tool, you see results and the client is involved and also can see how they are involved in the decisions being made. It's like a double bind if you use it properly. Okay, so we don't seem to have any questions about that bit, which is good. I'm hoping that means that everybody's with us. And I think, I say, it would be useful for you all if I can release the PowerPoints to you, because then obviously you will have all this as well. So we're going to move onwards and upwards then. And this is just a little bit of research. The NCBI indicates that being vigilant, monitoring food and exercise helps manage the weight. If people believe weight cannot stay off, they are more likely to stop doing what works. So pretty much what we know about people's belief systems. But also a study conducted by Live Science, this was early this year, had identified differences that for people to successfully maintain the weight loss, they have to follow a different regime compared to using those techniques that they use for actually losing the weight. So that is something to bear in mind when you are working with your weight loss clients, that for them to maintain something, we'll probably need a different regime to the one they were using to lose the weight in the first place. So we're going to put another tool in your toolbox now, where we can compound somebody's belief systems. And, you know, when, I sometimes talk on seminars about, giving people recordings to listen to, when I draw this little picture of the brain, and the more they listen to it, the more it, makes that neural pathway deeper for the new set of suggestions. And, CDs or recordings, I'm showing my age, can keep things going for a client. But you can actually make that happen during a session as well, by something called patterning, where you compound this client's belief system. And I find this one a really fascinating way of going things about, of going about things. So, Sass, would you like to just do a little bit of a demonstration with this? Because you sound so much better doing it than I do.
So, can I just talk? I'll just talk a little bit more about the compounding, because I guess it's when we're talking about the patterning, I think sometimes it goes, like you said, Sheila, underestimated with the power that it has. It's such a wonderful transformation tool because it seals with the conscious and the subconscious. It brings about the change, the said change, or reinforce the change that's desired. And remember that, I'm not sure, many people will know about it, but it's understanding that how we work with patterning and compounding is we want that very first suggestion to become stronger and stronger. So therefore, that very first suggestion is the one we're going to work with the client. The client's going to repeat, which I'm going to run through in just a moment. So if you want to get yourselves prepared yourself, you can actually do this as we go. So that's sort of why I wanted to sort of get yourselves organized. And someone else can do it for you, but obviously in this case, if you're going to do it yourself, you can use the patter by simply just, pattering on your hand or pattering on your actual, we'll just flip the slide if we can to the next one. I'll just, thank you. So, when we're talking about, as I said, really pushing through and compounding, making that first suggestion stronger and stronger, by the third suggestion, it reinforces making that very first suggestion strong. So when we want this patterning to actually bring about the change, it actually ripples through continuously for days and weeks to come. So let me talk you through the checklist here. So this is the one that if you want to work through, and where Sheila's going to leave that up on the screen there, I'll just take you through it. So what we would do is just prepare yourself to just sit and listen to this for a moment, and know that when you take your client through, you might get them to count down from 100. It's up to you how you're going to do it. The whole idea is just to get the client relaxed. You don't have to take them through a full hypnosis or anything like that, because they're already going to be coming under that trance once you start doing that pattern. So always, of course, ask if it's okay to touch your client, because in this case we are going to be doing a patter, which is like a gentle tap, but it's in the areas, the 4 main areas that you're going to be working with for the compounding, is to actually do it on the top of the head, the shoulder. You can do it in the forehead, and you can do it on the hand if you like, but it's okay. The sequence itself, you just start with the top and finish with the top of the head. How you do the rest is actually up to you. So as we start, you can actually start doing it yourself as if you're the client if you want. That's up to you, because that first pattern we're going to use here is I am living a healthy lifestyle every day. Then we have a second pattern and a third pattern and a fourth. To understand basically how that works with the pattern is to make sure that as we're going through the pattern, no matter what happens, that very first pattern is the one that the client's going to repeat to themselves. The rest of the patterns you are going to say as well, and I'll show you how that's done. So they don't have to repeat anything else except that very first pattern, which is I am living a healthy lifestyle every day, because you can change this to any pattern you like, because a well-written pattern has its own transformation within itself. It doesn't need anything else. So no, I'm not. I've just got a question that I'm going to answer. I'm not describing EFT. No, it's a particular technique where you're just patting the forehead and the shoulder and going backwards and forwards. You can utilize your hand if you feel that the client needs it, but we normally do 2 or 3 spots. So it is a little bit different. So it's not particular areas of the face or anything. It's the top of the head, the forehead, and the hand and shoulder. If you forget or miss a sequence, doesn't matter. It's just as long as you do the head and the shoulder, they're the main ones. Okay, so I'm just going to check if there's any questions before I start for a moment, because that's a great one to ask about the EFT.
Sass, I can see a question. I can't actually see which from that, but so I apologise for the person who asked it, because it hasn't come up with your name as yet on my end. But I don't know if you've seen the question, Sass. Would you adapt this for kinesthetic clients, e.g. change colour to feeling, etc.?
Okay, so that must have been for the last one, change the colour?
Yes, I think so.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because if they can't have the colour, and even with an audio, you can actually tap into a feeling. Whatever's going to work for the client, you can utilise it. It's very adaptable.
So yeah, that's all for questions, Sass.
Okay, all right. Well, let's start the pattern. So it'll go just for a few minutes, and so I'm going to actually do the patter. So I'm going to continue, and then you'll get a feel for how quickly and slowly that I'm going to speak with the patter, because I'm going to speed up and slow down through it. Now, no matter what, if you're going to do this patter now, as I said, don't worry too much. You're going to be doing it with a client, but if you're doing it with yourself now, don't worry if you're missing any sequence. As long as you start with the top of the head and finish at the top of the head, and you can, go to shoulder or whatever, you'll know when you need to change. Okay, so I'm going to start the patter, and all you need to do if you're doing this particular patter is you repeat to yourself, close your eyes, take the breath, no matter what, until you hear the word stop. I'll take you through it. You're going to repeat. So get yourselves lovely and comfortable, and always know that you have control to always come back to exactly how you are, very high alert in the here and now. So the first thing is to do is just take your breaths and say to yourself over and over again, and you can start doing a bit of tapping on your head or shoulder, wherever you choose. I am living a healthy lifestyle every day. So you start doing that. Okay, and as you do that now, and continue to do that, no matter what I say now, as you continue to say, I'm living a healthy lifestyle every day, no matter what I say, you continue until you hear the word stop. Okay. So I am living a healthy lifestyle every day. I'm living a healthy lifestyle every day. I am living a healthy lifestyle every day. I'm 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 living a healthy lifestyle every day. And I'm feeling energized and healthy every day. 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 I'm living and breathing 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 healthy every day. Living and breathing healthy every day. I'm living and breathing healthy every day. I'm living and breathing healthy every day. I'm living and breathing healthy every day. And I'm eating healthy every day. 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 I'm living a healthy lifestyle 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 every day. Every day, 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 and stop. And just feel your feet on the ground. Just breathe it in. Just breathe the body. Just feel it in your body, shifting your shoulders, adjusting the shoulders. And just settle, feeling your feet, and have a sip of water. And just notice how the body feels right now. And just allow yourself just to sit for a moment. And just notice how you feel. And even though I shortened that a bit just to give you the demo, you're going to do it at least 20 times per patter. Be constant and rhythm, fast and slow, and change. You're going up and down with your voice. So it gives you a little bit of a taste of how you're going to work. So I'm interested to see, how does everyone feel and think at the moment? I'll hand you back to Sheila.
Thanks, Sass. I always find it's a bit like a vibrational thing is pattering. But it would be interesting to see how, if any of you did do it on yourself, what your own thoughts and feelings were about it. Again, I can't, unfortunately, hasn't dropped down to see who the person is who's asked it, but somebody said, are you describing EFT? And I would like an EFT, emotional freedom technique, is more like you're unpeeling the onion with emotional freedom techniques, so you can actually drill down and, pull out the issues. Whereas pattering is, with this, we are compounding suggestions. So rather than unpeeling, we are drilling them in, if that makes sense. But if you just type in any questions that you have on that one in the chat box, then we can answer those before we move on again. Just give it a couple of seconds, see if anything drops in. Oh, okay. So Jimmy is in the house. Great to see you, Jimmy. And Val's asked, is there a way to do this over Skype? Absolutely. I don't see any reason why you cannot do this over Skype. Just like we've got you to do it on yourselves here. As regards to Skype as well, I personally, it's going slightly off track here, but I tend to find that the platform Zoom is actually much more stable now than Skype is, and certainly as far as the video side of it goes. So yeah, Helene's asked, client is tapping the self, ? Or are you as a therapist tapping? So yeah, if you've got them in the room with you, then really you're doing the tapping. But if they were distance, or like we've had to do tonight, you could actually get the clients to do the tapping themselves. Can
I just add to that one? I'll just add to that one as far as the pattern. So I'll just explain again. I just see a question coming up about sticking to the patter. The client only says the first patter no matter what. And that's where you set the scene with the client to say, no matter what you hear, no matter what I'm saying, you just say to yourself, within your mind's eye, that very first patter, which is I am living a healthy lifestyle every day. No matter what, they do not say any other patter, even over Skype. I say the rest of the patters. I'm the one then pushing that through to the subconscious as well. They only need to say that first patter because they're compounding that first patter, but we're also putting in those other suggestions. So no matter what, so that's what you say. And clients normally just keep that focus on that first one no matter what. I am living a healthy lifestyle, even shorten it if you need to for them, but that's all they need to do, nothing else. And you can say to them, even though you feel like you're going off track, the client, just come back to that very first. That's all they need to do, nothing else. I hope that answers that question back to you, Sheila.
Thanks, Sass. And Gideon it said, it made a lot of sense, the difference between unpeeling as with an EFT type of technique versus hammering them in with this. So I think there is another question at the top, but I can't quite see it. So yeah, so very interesting. Okay, it's coming now. Linda. So Linda, yeah, got confused. Is the client sticking only to the first patter because I found myself changing when the patter changed? So you only want the client to stick to that first suggestion. Okay. So a few tools there for you for your toolbox. And again, we'll open up for questions again at the end. And we have got, say, another tool for you to look at, a script for change, which I'll tell you about shortly. We do obviously have challenges as therapists. And I think one of the biggest challenges with the arena of weight loss and maintenance, getting people to stay where they want to be, is that weight loss is multifaceted, and not one cap necessarily fits all. The virtual gastric band has been shown, extremely well to put foundations in place with people. And that's really what that program's about, is putting the right basic foundations in place and getting them to develop that new set of habit routines that they can realistically live with. But often, and I talk about this quite a bit on business seminars, what we sometimes do is we sack our clients. We do 4-session program, yes, ta-ta, let me know when you need anything else. We often don't offer them something else, which we should all think about doing, that to help them further along their journey. And if we don't offer them something else, how do they know that we've got any tool to support them in the longer term? Sometimes, when you're, you might feel that you've got only a limited programs that you can offer to people. And if you, niche an area, then really you need different programs to be able to offer to different people. And you need ways to offer long-term support to our clients. So I'm going to tell you about an opportunity where if you want to go deeper into, specialist areas and take your learning further, there is an opportunity for you to do that. And then we'll go back to this, change tool for you to stick some more tools in your toolbox before we finish up on the webinar this evening. So Sass and I have recently delivered 7 specialist hypnotic weight programs in Melbourne. And as you can see by the slide on your screen, it's a pretty thick training manual. So these are 7 individual programs that are all fully laid out, framework, what to do on each session, a step-by-step process, what to do in these situations. And these 7 programs cover the main areas that you could possibly come across with a client. So the first program is a carbohydrates reduction program if somebody just wants to reduce the carb side of things. There's a motivation and commitment training program. So these are all standalone programs, but can also, all the tools and techniques are different in each training program, so you could mix and match to suit the client sitting in front of you. It stuffs lots more tools in your toolbox. There's a relationship program, if a client is living with a feeder perhaps, or they go out somewhere and they find it very difficult when somebody puts food in front of them, to be able to resist or stick to the smaller portions. There's a specific weight loss maintenance program. So, once we've got somebody to where they want to be, how do we keep them there? There's a program about reducing alcohol, one for beating sugar addiction, and also a diabetes program. So if you have a client with type 2 diabetes, this program is specifically designed to help them. So, a huge bundle of programs together really, but which are all standalone. And the training manual itself, it has about 600 and odd pages. I didn't count them up fully, but it's a huge training manual, as you can see by the picture. It's a distance learning training. This is not a live training. You can buy the training and you get links so you can watch the full 2-day seminar that was filmed in Melbourne that goes into detail in each program. You can watch it any time, a time that's convenient to you. You instantly will get this digital version of this training manual, but you will also get the hard copy. that you can keep and you can cherry pick ideas out of. And sometimes I find it's much easier if you have, it's like having a book where you've got scripts in it to cherry pick ideas out of. It's much better to have a hard copy than that be digital, I personally find. So you would get a hard copy in the post as well. So there's the techniques, the protocols, the scripts for each individual program. There are client take-homes that you can print, give to your clients. There's the intake forms that uncover real issues, and of course, naturally, course certification as well. Now, at the moment, this is only being made available to practitioners from who already have the virtual gastric band training. It is not being made available at this time to the wider hypnosis community, although that will happen. But I wanted to let you have the opportunity first. And just a few comments that people said about the training in Australia. You know, a guy called Alec Halls, this particular course, a practical procedural basis that's worked around, and all these micro courses put together can be tied into being one big thing or lots of little things. Really useful, highly recommend it. A lovely lady called Joanne, just finished a 7 programme, learned a whole bunch of tools to take away to use in business. Wasn't just reading out of books, it was doing and learning. And obviously with the links to the 2-day course, you can, like you have tonight, you can go along and use the tools on yourself as well. Phil Knight, fantastic couple of days, gained some confidence, real knowledge, and going away with a manual that I know is really rich in detail and well researched. And, you know, I don't put anything out into the hypnosis community unless I have researched it myself, used it, seen a difference with it, know that it adds value. Okay, another lady here. And I love this comment. She'd said so that she received emails from me and always thought that maybe I was somebody who was way too important to bother with somebody on her side of the world, and that she found out that actually I'm not. I'm just equal. I'm just normal like she is. So that was really lovely. And Leanne Thompson, what she really liked about it is, like, it's all the work that's been done for you. The manual's a go-to manual. You go to the manual, everything's there. So you're free to work with the client rather than hours trying to prepare for a session. And it's steps, it's a framework. She's done tons of courses, but this one was something that we should highly recommend. So there are some bonuses that go along with this training, and to sort of really help you with your business as much as possible. So there's a full business masterclass manual that's got done for your marketing, doctor's letters, what we call joint venture template letters, so that a joint venture is something where you would hook up with another professional and work with them. It covers how to get publicity for your practice, but more importantly, having the right mindset for building a successful and profitable practice. Second bonus is self-care for therapists. It's important that we look after ourselves as well. You know, how do we avoid stress, burnout? And that's got a value of £97. Some training on how to secure client testimonials for yourself, you know, when you should ask for them, understand the importance of the different types of testimony and where best to use them. And so how can you use those to increase your business referrals by that process of testimonial? It's a guide for that for you, worth 47. There's some marketing headlines, you know, how do you write copy that's going to stand out, grab somebody's attention, be that on a press release, on social media, on your leaflet, on your website. And so we've put all that up together for you to give you some really great big idea headlines. There's also going to be a bonus Q&A webinar on Wednesday the 16th of August. So when people have had a chance to go through the material and all the different techniques, you know, we would then have a webinar to round that off so that we know that you're comfortable with everything that you've learned. So those bonuses are over £513 worth of bonuses. So you get the training manual, digital, hard copy, all the bonuses, course certification, and the investment for the training, if you want to take it further, is only £397. So the cost of one client, basically. I don't think you'll find 7 programs anywhere else at that type of price. And all that is available to you with those bonuses up until next Wednesday. We only have 50 packs though of the training manual. Once they're gone type of thing. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, we have over 500 people on tonight's webinar registered for it. And pretty much the same tomorrow morning. So if it was something you were interested in, you know, it should be something that you take action on sooner rather than later, really. So that's something for you to have a think about, whether you know, you want to enhance your practice and your education. And we're now going to go back to another tool in your toolbox, the script change tool. And this is something that it's an 11-page document, a full session, and tomorrow you will get a replay link from today's webinar. Look out for the email coming, because within that email there is going to be this script change tool for you. It was the easiest way to get it to you, really. So I'm going to pass you back to Sass for a moment.
Thanks, Sheila. Yes, it's a wonderful script change tool. It sort of works on the change and the anchoring, especially all the work you've just done. So you're really going to, I hope you really love this. We sort of thought that this would be really useful and helpful for those stuck clients, and then the maintenance, making sure that what they put in place stays in place. So we're working at a real deep level within the subconscious, and of course the inner dialogue that goes on with language, and tapping into that left and right brain hemispheres. That's what the patterning also does. So we're looking at the change, feeding those thoughts of the change, and we're manifesting around that thread that we want to really push through for them to feel empowered and able to take those first steps in doing something different. We want the shift to come easily, organically. And part of that is about understanding that this tool covers 6 major principles. The principles are very clear. They focus on positive reinforcement. That's one principle. Principle number 2 has point reward, something symbolic in it as well. Principle number 3 is how it does the successful, the working on the commitment principle. It also does the modeling principle, demolition principle, and alternative behavior principle. And all of those are detailed in this wonderful script change tool, which is something that you're going to find very useful and helpful. And all the little bit of work that you've just done before with those other tools are all compounded. It also has the area to go for before you actually go through the trance section, and then it has a wonderful script that actually anchors everything through. It's focused on empowerment type language, so it's a little bit different to direct suggestible, because it's got the others where choice thread comes through, and that's the point of difference here with this script change tool. So it'll be wonderful to see how you all go with that and practice that. So looking forward to the question and answer webinar to see how you go and have a really good play with it. So I'll hand you back to Sheila.
Thank you, Sass. So we're going to open up to any question and answers you have now. And this may be on something that we've talked about tonight. It may be on the full training course, the 7 hypnotic weight programs, or it could be about another client that you're seeing, perhaps for weight loss, that you want more guidance with. So I've opened up the chat box again now, so you can type away any questions that you have. We can certainly hang around for a little while longer yet. And Carl has said, could you tap each knee while saying statement? So he's put bilateral working of the brain.
So where you tap, you can start from the tap. Just remember to start from the top of the head. If you want to go anywhere else, that's absolutely fine. Just start at the top and finish at the top, because that's the area we're tapping into, and we know how the frontal lobe works with the neurotransmitters. So yes, you can still incorporate that of the workings, the bilateral state, absolutely. And there was also just another question I was looking at here that somebody asked about how quickly do you do the tapping. The tapping is a rhythm. And you'll find that when you fasten the voice, when the voice gets quicker, the tapper will become quicker. When it slows, the tap will be slow. That's fine. So that you'll adjust it as you go with your voice. Just play around with that a little bit, see how that goes. Back to you, Sheila.
Thank you, Sass. Just waiting to see if any other questions come in, really. So I will make these PowerPoint slides available. Now, unfortunately, I don't think you will get them tomorrow. You will get the replay email tomorrow, but I don't think, in all honesty, I will have chance to get the slides to my web people in time to stop the email that will automatically be sending out tomorrow with the replay. But if you just look out for an email in the next couple of days, I will ensure that you have the PowerPoint slides, certainly for the specific questions that you perhaps are going to ask a client to drill down on things. And for the patterning, it may be useful for some of you to have those. So if anybody has any questions, do type them in the chat box before we bring this evening's webinar to a close, because I'm very grateful for Sass joining us this evening, because for where Sass is in Melbourne, I had to get up at 3:15 a.m. this morning to run this webinar on her time zone. So Sass is in the future, and I'm very grateful that she got up specially to talk to all of us today.
Thank you, Sheila, so much for having me. Lots of fun. I just noticed a question here around, Caroline, around, was the focus on the change work on the strengths and the patter all in one session? The answer is no. The patter is the maintenance. It's the areas there within itself. You can, it depends on how long your sessions are, but the patter is working on building around, the areas of what they want and the change. You don't have to do that all in one session, no. Stick to doing the change and the strengths and then anchor that. And if you want to, you can do the patter, but you can use the patter at any time for anything. But I just want to say thank you so much, and thank you everyone for having me, and really excited for you to go off and have a good play with those tools and see how you go with them. And yes, again, thanks so much, Sheila.
Thank you, Sass. Okay. Oh, hang on. I've stopped to end it then. I just noticed still no more questions coming. Helene. What is the advice when a person after the virtual gastric band installation can't go to the toilet easy? Now, I'm suspecting, Helene, what it is, because a couple of, it doesn't happen a lot, but some people do report that they are not drinking enough water. They need to drink more water. And if they do that, occasionally people report it for a few days and then their body will get used to it and they'll go back to normal again. So I think the important thing is to let them know that, but make sure that they're drinking plenty of water. Linda's asked, Sass, when do you speed up or slow down?
Yes, so when your voice is speeding up and slowing down, you can go with the rhythm of your voice. You'll notice you'll just do that rhythm. It'll come quite organically with you when it does, because your body goes into that vibrational state. So that's just trusting that process as it goes, as long as you just keep it moving. I hope that sort of explains that.
Jodie, hi Jodie. Jodie says, thank you, Sheila and Sass. Caroline, thank you, ladies, for our new tools. Val, thank you both very much. Helene, great to have more tools. Cheryl, thank you. No, it's been really great to talk to you all, and I love it because, you know, I recognise people's names and I think, oh, hello. So that's really nice. For those of you who, most of you should know about it, but I've been trying to track a lot of people down on Facebook, and to add them or ask them if they'd like to be added to a new group called Hypnosis Success. Now, I know some of you are in there, but not all of you might be. The main reason for that group, it's something I should have done a long time ago. You know, it's to support you more, answer questions that you've got. But it's also to celebrate successes, because once a month I'm going to be sending out an award to somebody for being an inspirational therapist. It's a physical award. It could be landing in any country, any day. And it also gives you a press release that I'm going to get my PR people to write specifically for you and the work that you've done, and also to give guidance of where to send that to in your area. So if we are not connected on Facebook, please do send me a Facebook message. So my private Facebook is Sheila Elaine Granger. You know, send me a message and say, you know, please add me to Hypnosis Success, and I can get you added in there as well. So Cheryl said, thank you, Carl, excellent, thank you both. Helene, what if people are going to eat too less after the virtual gastric band installation? It's unlikely, Helene. Normally on the first session, they go to eating quite a lot less. And then on the second session, they adjust to it and they sometimes report eating more, but really they're just balanced out to what they should be doing. So it's, you know, it doesn't happen where the subconscious is not going to let somebody starve. Roy, hi Roy. Roy said this works well in all sports and children aged 6 and up, as well as pain control. So Roy, yeah, compounding and PATA are also good, are also good for pain management. Also good for pain management. And somebody else has said thank you both so much, but for some reason I can't see your name. So great to see so many of you online. Thank you for taking the time to join us. You know, I do try to, as much as possible, you know, bring you new things all the time or add value to the work that you're already doing. So I'm hoping that I've done that. And, you know, I do look forward to seeing you in the future on another call. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, many thanks to Sass. Thank you to my partner who supplies me with cups of coffee while I'm sitting here on here. So have a good evening. Somebody said Hypnosis Success. So yeah, it is Hypnosis Success. you're not already in that group. Yeah, Penny, if you're not already in it, is hypnosis success. Okay, so thank you for joining us all, everybody from all over the world. Tamsin, nice to see you. Glad you enjoyed it. And we will speak to you again soon. All right, take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks.